Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this Works Committee meeting to order. We're going to start with a roll call. I think we're going to start with a roll call. There we go. I think I hit that button.
Councillor Nicholson?
Okay, so great to see everyone this morning. Just before we get started, I just want to thank, actually, great to see everyone this morning. Chair Henry, great to see you. Thanks for the chat already this morning. We're so happy to see you back, and we wish to see you in this room much more often, and we hope you all the best as you continue to recover. Great to have you back. I'd also just a shout out to the regional works teams. We felt really special in Uxbridge last week, where really only Uxbridge got about 1.5 feet of snow in a very localized area. So we got a pretty good blast, and thanks to Ramesh, you and your entire team, thanks for keeping our residents safe and all the hard work that went into that. We truly appreciate the efforts that kept things rolling. And thanks to Mother Nature for making Uxbridge feel so special. All right, let's jump into the agenda. Oh, any declarations of interest? Seeing and hearing none. We're at then 3.1. This is the Works Committee meeting from October the 8th. Do you want to move that? Okay. And seconded by? Thanks, Rhonda. Questions, comments, all in favor? Okay, that is carried. We have a delegation. We're at 6.1. Thank you very much for being here. We've got Glenn Baswick. He's the chair of the Energy from Waste Advisory Committee, and this is in regards to their annual report, EFW WMAC 2025. Thank you very much for coming in.
Well, thank you. I don't know whether we got there. It's up on the screen.
Oh, just a second.
People resigned, and if you go to the second slide, these are the members of the new committee, and I've met with them and talked to them to some extent, and I found that these new members of the committee have some skills that we can really make use of. A lot of technical skills, a lot of experience in waste, and hopefully we'll be able to make good use of their skills in the future. Can you go to the second slide? We've had meetings since the spring, and we've had presentations from staff on things like who does what and the Rethink, Reduce, Reuse initiatives. Part of the work plan discussions were multi-unit residential unit collection. That's going to be a challenge in the future. We have a lot of buildings that were designed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that don't have the capability built in that they can collect waste, do the green bin and the recycling like you do at a single family home. We also talked about communications. We've got to work on doing the communication with the residents and increase the subscribership to the Waste app. Nowadays, a lot of people are using apps. They don't use the traditional way of communicating anymore, and so the app is probably going to be our way to reach out in the future. We met in May, and we received a bunch of reports from the Durham York Energy Center, And mostly it was about monitoring and our emissions. And one of the things I'd like to point out is our emissions are great by my standards. They're much, much lower than the limits set by the province. In some cases, the lead and the cadmium, which are serious heavy metals, are much lower. They're almost 100% lower than the limits. We had a tour in January 5th of, you could go to the next, we had a tour in June of the facility for the members of the committee, and it was well attended, and we got to see firsthand how the facility worked. And if you go to their website, you can get a tour if you're interested. They're doing quite a few tours every year, up to 80 tours a year of the facility. In September, we talked about our green bin program and the multi-residential rollout again, and the enhanced green bin, where we're taking much more material in the green bin that we used to take. We talked about our work plan and community events. Can you go to the next slide? Now, in summary, we'd like to implement the work plan and do more on that. Of course, we have to engage in compliance, and that's changing as new environmental rules come out. Expand the green bin program, the multi-residential unit collection, and community engagement. One of the things that we've encountered is we've had changes with circular materials, and that's really changed the recycling programs and taken a lot of waste collection away from Durham region and transferred it to circular materials. Of course, we have still the issue of collecting waste from the downtowns, the small businesses. They still haven't been included in circular materials, so they have to find their own way, and hopefully we can work that out. Once again, on the last slide, increasing communication to residents for the regional waste app. We'd like to get more people using that. Increasing the multi-residential unit organic waste adoption. It's not fully being used by people. The last number I saw was, less than half, maybe about half of the homes use the green bin. Be good to try and increase that. And to do better on the emissions. And I think that concludes the report for now. Thank you very much for allowing me the time to talk.
Thank you so much for coming in, and we might have some questions. So before you sit down, actually, we do have one from Mayor Foster. I'd just like to, on behalf of the Works Committee, I'd like to thank you for coming in here today to talk to us, but also for the work that you do every day with this committee. This is critically important. We need to make sure that we are as green as we can possibly be as a municipality, as a region. And when you think of the huge strides that have been made, with the EFW, with the expansion of the green bins, just those actions get so much methane out of our environment. And we know that from a climate change perspective, that's that makes a very significant difference. So thanks for that. I'm going to start with Mayor Foster. Go ahead.
Gonna unmute myself after you unmuted me. Glenn, I want to reiterate what the chair just said. Thanks to you, and please pass along our thanks to the committee for the work that we're doing. I guess a couple of questions, and staff are going to roll their eyes. The green bin. So Clarington has been on a bit of a tear for clear bags, which might get this out. And I know that the automated bins are coming in. Has there been any discussion at the committee on how we, I'm going to say, force people to start using the organics bin, because that should not be going into waste, and it's certainly not helpful to combustion process.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing, because I'm not really in favor of forcing people to do anything. It's better to convince people that they should do it rather than put a gun to their head. So we just got to do a better job of communicating, I think.
Okay, and I would observe that we've been at green bins for a very long time. If only half of residents are using them, and it's not a tough thing. So you're right. There are carrots. Carrots are way nicer than sticks. So maybe we invent a better carrot. A couple, and this could go to staff, but perhaps discussion at the committee as well. Is there any sense as to when you revisit the emissions and the technology used in the emissions? So the EFW has been up and running for a while. I know I've chatted with staff a couple of times about the NOx, and NOx is the closest to the limits below. And I've got to emphasize, and thank you for emphasizing, how far below the regulated limits the EFW is running at. But for example, I know in Europe, the Copenhagen facility anyway, they use a different NOx scrubber, which seems to be far more effective than what we have in place. Is there any discussion or dialogue on moving forward, what upgrades we may want to consider, timelines for them?
I'm not aware of that, right? It's a kind of a technical issue, and I'm probably not the guy to talk to the technical parts of how the emissions are handled and how they can be reduced.
Sounds good.
I see Andrew on. So
Andrew, let's switch to Andrew.
Educate me once again, because you do that on a regular basis, and it is appreciated.
So through the chair, we do kind of continuously look at the various technologies that are coming forward, as well as sort of the costs to implement them. To make a wholesale process change would be, it's pretty significant in terms of time, capital dollars. So there, that would probably be something at sort of a major life cycle milestone of the plant during kind of an overall refresh. But at the same time, there are some, I'll say, newer technologies coming out that are more facility optimization type technologies, and we're continuing to look at those and talk to others in the industry to see what is moving forward. We do. I will say, although the NOx is the closest, we do have a fairly tight NOx limit compared to, say, the Ontario A7 guidelines and things. So the plant does perform, very well overall in terms of that. But certainly, always looking at opportunities to do better. I think we've talked about in the past. NOx is one of those ones you could start to add a certain ammonia, sort of like diesel emission fluid, but at some point that starts to create other issues throughout later in the process. So it is a bit of a balancing act.
Okay, so Andrew, and perhaps we have a chat here, but I guess knowing what those milestones are, knowing what is an optimization, just what is the path forward to make sure that we are taking reasonable steps, I'm going to suggest, on emissions where needed. Because again, if you're looking at those charts, they're doing quite well. Andrew, thank you for that. Glenn, sorry for putting you on the spot like that. Again, for all that you are doing, thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. I don't see any additional hands. Glenn, thank you so much for coming in today. Thanks for the work you're doing, and I hope you have a fantastic holiday with your friends and family.
Thank you very much. It was good to be here, and hopefully we'll be here next year and do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's jump down to 8.1. We've got some correspondence from Doug Glass in regards to red light cameras. Ramesh, would you mind just speaking to that briefly, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll start by thanking Mr. Glass for taking the time to put his thoughts together. If I can just make a few comments on, Mr. Glass has reviewed about 3 years of collision data after we installed the cameras, but what he has not done is do a before and after evaluation, and therefore probably inferred some conclusions that are, I have to say, that can be challenged. So basically, his biggest observation is these cameras at the 12 locations are not yielding positive results based on looking at the data after the cameras were installed, but he has not done a comparison. And the 12 locations, as the committee may recall, are based on many years of collision data before we deployed them. And also we had to make sure that it's geographically spread across the region to get some system-wide effect. So we believe it's working well, although it takes time to establish statistical trends. It's good to know, like in the last 4 years since we installed the cameras, there hasn't been a single fatality at those 12 locations. Prior to that, we've had some. Again, statistics take some time to establish trends, but we will be reporting next year on where we are. Obviously, speed cameras are no longer a tool. Red light cameras, we have 12 locations, potentially expanding in the future, and we will report on it next year. And we will have a conversation with Mr. Glass to just let him know our thoughts and thank him too. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to our vice chair. Go ahead, Tina.
Procedurally, I'll just give you a motion to receive because I think that's probably the most prudent. I'd like to say hello to the chair and welcome him. It's nice to see him here as well. I'm going to stay away because I'm actually going to give you something that you won't want. We're fighting everything, including our health these days. And I think it's important to recognize health in this particular instance, the psychology of these red light cameras, because I see even with the speed enforcement cameras or the speed deterrent cameras, whatever you wanted to call them, there's still the psychology of people, even though they've been removed, people slowing down in those areas. So they've worked. It's a shame that we're not able to activate and keep them. I really thought that there was an opportunity there, but in this particular case, we have some dangerous intersections, and short of someone, and I appreciate the previous speaker on the subject saying that it's rather difficult to force people, and even wrong. Short of forcing people to do certain things, these are the best methods because I think psychologically you recognize it's a very difficult intersection, that it's dangerous, and that you're going to get penalized if you're operating in a way that may add to that danger. So I would just, that's the motion that I moved, the receipt for information, because I do think that we've got experts, and sure, we could always do something more strategic or better, but we're relying on expert sort of opinion and the positioning of these devices so that we can keep the public safe. I do think, and I hope that that's what the mindset is when we're dealing with this, keeping the public safe. I know that there's criticism about, using it as a cash cow, but I can tell you that when you consider the data that we have, it appears that it has reduced the cause and effect of some of the accidents. So if we can have more of this, it encourages people psychologically to operate in a way that's safer, then I think we're better off. So I'll leave that with you, Mr. Chair, and wish everyone a very good morning.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Mulcahy, are you willing to second?
I will gladly second that, and I'd like to speak to it briefly.
Of course. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I think when we put traffic calming in where it's not needed, there is an outcry very quickly. And as we saw in other municipalities where speed cameras were perhaps overused, and it resulted in none of us having them. And when we put in the red light cameras and the speed cameras, there was very little opposition to the red light cameras because people knew that they were dangerous intersections. And I have zero regrets in having done this because I remember people getting hit in those intersections, and they were not nice accidents. So I'm grateful that they're there, and I'll look forward to the, if we have more data to actually show where we came from, because I think that it's there. We all remember it. Any of us that were on the, part of this decision at that time remember that. And if we'd have put those red light cameras in on those intersections and they weren't really merited, we would have had a public outcry at that point. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And again, I agree 100%. I also love that our GPSs or phones or whatever chirp at us, reminding us that they're coming up, which I think also adds to the effect. Go ahead, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Good morning to the committee. Just a question regarding this motion. Have we started engaging the province on the cost recovery for these speed cameras, or that's still too early in the process?
Go ahead, Ramesh.
Through the chair, unless we have a direction to do so, I don't think, have we? Sorry, Elaine. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, we have submitted information in terms of volume and impact, and we do have an allocation, an interim allocation to offset some of the costs, but there's still discussions to be had.
And do we know when this committee? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Councillor, maybe I misunderstood the question. Elaine, our CEO is right. We have been allocated some funds to implement offsetting measures. I believe our allocation is about $500,000, like maybe $450,000. Traffic calming measures to offset some of the impacts. But I hear there's more to come, but this is just an initial communication we've had.
So then when will it come back to this committee to make a decision on how it's distributed, how it's used?
Well, as part of our 2026 Vision Zero program planning, we will be looking at measures that we can implement at these locations and beyond to offset some of the benefits that we used to get with the speed cameras through proper measures that are relevant to regional roads, right? Like, we're not looking at speed bumps and those kinds of measures that they refer to, but it'll be more like signage and markings and so on. We will come back to Works Committee in sometime early in the new year with our measures to be implemented.
Oh, do you want to hit your button again, Sterling? He's good. Oh, you're good. Okay, good. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have no other hands up. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you so much. Okay, next we're at report number 2025 W35. This is approval for unbudgeted capital financing for metering chamber drainage at the Oshawa Water Supply Plant. And just before we do this, I'm going to put Mike Hubble on the spot, if you don't mind. Mike, can you just explain just summarize what we're doing here and why?
Sure. So through the chair, this is facilities work. So this is not part of the treatment process of the plants. This is rehab that's required. A lot of this was unexpected things. For 2035, this is the Oshawa Water Supply Plant. In 2018 and 19, we experienced significantly high lake levels of Lake Ontario, and some of the surge from a few storms flooded some chambers that we have close to the lake. Those chambers have magnetic flow meters inside with electrical components, and they need to stay dry. They can't be submerged to work efficiently. So the pumps in these chambers needed to be replaced. We needed to change the drainage around the chamber so that the water couldn't get into the chamber. And it's rehab work that wasn't budgeted for, that we needed to find financing to get the work completed.
Okay. Hey, thanks for that. I'm going to go to Councillor Lee first. He might have some questions for you. So go ahead,
Thank you,
Councillor
Chair. Thank you. I guess my first question is, so during design, the report says flooding wasn't really anticipated. Are there any other kind of water supply plants that are at risk of flooding that we should, as this committee, be prepared for to possibly, move things around as we did with this one?
Yeah, so through the chair, all of our plants are currently in a design process for expansion or significant rehab. And that is one of the lenses that we're considering through a climate change lens with changing storm frequency and storm magnitude events, as well as the lake levels. Again, 2018-19, we saw some significantly high lake levels. So we are in the process, all of our plants, as we're doing the design, we are factoring in that and considering that to better protect our infrastructure.
Okay, and then I noticed that each of these reports, we're pulling money from the Ajax water supply plant expansion project. Being new to this committee, is this kind of standard operating procedure where it's like if we need money, we kind of pull it from an existing project, or this is somewhat of an outlier?
Okay, so through the chair, we had a project at the Ajax water supply plant for joint replacement above one of our reservoir cells. And we had anticipated, based on other work that we had done, an amount of money it was going to take to do those repairs. Well, it turns out as we got into the work, we found out the work was going to be significantly less than what we expected it to be. So we had a significant savings from that project. So rather than try to pull money and find money from elsewhere, we had a significant savings. We're able to reallocate that savings into these projects to cover the cost.
And I guess, without a crystal ball, we're now, when you report back on the Ajax WSP expansion joint project, we should either be at budget or a bit under budget. And this would not cause a budget overage in our estimation, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, that's good news to hear. Good to use funds. And those are all my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to Councillor Nicholson. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, just, Councillor Lee asked a couple of my questions, but just to follow up on one of his answers. If we were under budget on projects, why wouldn't those funds simply go back to their source and be used to offset a budget increase? Why do we have this money set aside for works-only projects?
Mike, do you want to take that, or do you want to go to Ramesh?
I can do it.
Or Elaine?
At the end of the year, all the surplus is allocated according to council's direction from the previous year. Today, for 2025, I believe it's going to offset underfunding in the DC fund, given DC changes. We regularly do this mid-year when unexpected capital requirements arise. If there's a project that is underspent and we know will remain underspent, we can reallocate those dollars without having an impact on the tax assessment.
All right. Just as a follow-up, why would we, let me rephrase this. I understand why you would do it mid-year, but we're a week out from the budget. Why wouldn't we use the surplus to reduce tax rate and then use the budget allocation that we're setting up for projects to prioritize these projects at the expense of others? It sounds to me we're simply padding the budget here, so I wonder if somebody could address that.
So I just want to make sure I understand where this project was funded from. Mike, do you want to answer this one, or Elaine? But this is a water project, so this would be coming from water bills, not from taxes, correct? Yeah, so they're nodding their heads, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, let me clarify then, if I could, Mr. Chair. We're looking at a water tax hike at the next meeting. And when we finally save some money through our good management, we just rush out and spend it again, as opposed to reducing the water tax impact. So whether you call it a tax on the regular budget or a tax on the water, it's a tax either way. So what I'm trying to understand is, because given that the water and sewer budget program is being approved imminently, why would this this project not included in that, and that any surplus from last year would be used to offset the base.
So again, great question. I'm going to go back to Mike Hubble again. Mike, can you explain what the cost would be if these chambers that we didn't put new sump pumps in flood, and what the overall cost would be to the system?
Yeah, through the chair. So this is basically emergency work, and we are doing it in advance of something catastrophic happening. So I would expect that the cost would be about 10 times the amount if we were dealing it in the middle of a storm, in the middle of an emergency, and the impact of the plant is not being able to produce water. So, you know, we're trying to take care of this so that we continue to provide that service to our customers.
Okay, and if that flooded and it was the 10 to, you said 10x the cost to replace when there was a significant fault, would that affect the water rates more or less than this movement of budgets?
Yeah, through the chair, that would affect the users significantly more.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up then, are you telling us that we don't have any reserve accounts in our water and sewer rates that we can access to do emergency work?
So let me, Elaine, do you want this one?
Mr. Chair, could I ask my own questions without you interpreting them, please?
Well, again, I'm chairing this meeting. I'm directing the questions to who it is. I'm trying to figure out where you're going with it, but I also want to make sure that anyone listening fully understands what we're doing with this committee, and it's all about safe drinking water and protecting the lake with our wastewater. So do you want to rephrase your question, Councillor?
I believe it was quite simple. I'll try again.
Okay.
It was, do we not have any reserve accounts in our water and sewer rate process and budgets to handle funding emergency work?
Okay, that's a great question. Elaine, do you want to talk about the state of our reserve funds for water and wastewater and the liabilities that we face? Thanks.
Yes, and I don't have all the data in front of me, but I've been reviewing many budget reports, so I think I can talk to this a little bit. We do have reserves for water and wastewater. Given changes in DCs, the wastewater reserve is under extreme pressure and will likely be exhausted, I think, within 1 to 2 years. The water reserve, I believe it's 3 years or so, and they will be exhausted given the change in timing. But just a reminder, we've had this policy in place as long as I've been at the region, where projects are underspent mid-year. We will reallocate dollars with council's approval to other projects where there's unexpected increase in costs or emergency situations. And just a reminder also, most of our reserves are DC driven and therefore earmarked for very specific purposes.
Councillor Nicholson, go ahead, sir.
No, that answered my question, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Mulcahy, go ahead.
Thank you. Can I ask what, through you, Mr. Chair, can I ask what the significant savings was at the Ajax water supply plant?
Michael, you.
Yeah, it was about $1 million. And if you look at the three reports combined, they're reallocating about $1.08 million. And I'll also clarify the report number 3, because I think we're talking about all 3 reports now, because they're all taking money from a reallocation of savings from the Ajax water supply plant project. The third one is an emergency one. Most of the work was already completed. Like Elaine said, at the end of the year, or like anywhere in the year, we're always looking for completed projects, and those savings get reallocated where it's required. And the third one here is an emergency, which is almost completed.
Okay, so we're basically using it in its entirety in these 3 reports. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I guess we have to beg the question, given that our reserves are under pressure, are all 3 of these reports, and I'm speaking to all of them now, I know that's a little out of order, you know, ensuring that all 3 are emergency, are needed now, given that we have these financial pressures coming at us?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. One technical question. if you don't mind. Given the low water in Lake Ontario this year, because I was out with the Paramarines, and they were saying the water level is down like 20 feet, estimate. Is that going to mean that the repair that's being done in Oshawa is a good time to do it while the water's low?
Through the chair, I don't think there's an impact on the lake levels to the repair.
Okay.
The repair is up on the Oshawa Water Supply Plant property. So we just need to make sure that the lake isn't high. That will impact our repair.
That would impact it. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all on this one. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Just from a housekeeping perspective, because we seem to be speaking about all three reports, can I get a mover and seconder for all three to combine? Tito, do you want to second that? Oh, good. Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Cook. All right, so then next let's go to Councillor Marin Pietri. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this because I think what I'm hearing from staff is that whether, because I think the questions that Councillor Nicholson is asking are fair. And I think that I would share some of the concerns with respect to reserves, maybe opposite of staff. But in this particular case, you're talking about if the project isn't executed in this manner, you're going to have it part of the budget because it has to be executed at some point because it's not exactly a nice to have. We have to do it. So whether the money gets moved in mid-season or during the budget, it's going to happen unless we want something that's going to be more costly. What I would say about the reserves is that I remember when I first started on the council, we've always talked about pressures in the reserves, and I'd be very cautious to tell everyone around the table that there's not a single reserve that can actually facilitate a major project. We have to debenture. We've debentured. So, the boogeyman about reserves and being very draconian about we have to up it. We have to be very careful. This is a different proposition, a different time, and one that we have to consider because it's one that can take on a narrative that would say that the region's not doing its job to maintain things and address things, and the plan's not working. We have a plan. Anyone that looks at it would say, well, there's billions of dollars worth of infrastructure that we need. Yeah, but there's a plan to be able to maintain the assets, to execute on the projects and advance things. Because otherwise, if you want to, go ahead and build all these major infrastructure projects, which in a perfect world we would do, it would be impossible through our reserves, and certainly equally difficult when it comes to debenturing. So I appreciate in this particular case what we're doing, but I would caution us in not being heavy-handed when it comes to upping the reserve count in a very difficult economic period. I'm not sure how, I don't have a crystal ball, how well things will equate in terms of the finances and the activation of projects in terms of development charges in the future, but I don't see an uptick in the sense that we can then rely on reserves or upping reserves and not have an impact to the taxpayer, a negative one, because then you're fighting yourself. You're looking at the competitive proposition that you've put yourself in. Not a competitive one, actually. So anyways, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this. I will be supporting the advancement of the project and the projects that are must-do projects. The nice to do, we have to be very careful. It'd be nice to put 4 times the amount in reserves, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not going to happen. I don't think you're going to receive the public support in that understanding of trying to take money from them while they don't have as much as per maybe previous years, and then say that we're going to be. And I'll just end by saying, even if you have the money in reserves, if they're not spent in real time, they're ravaged by inflation. So you're going to have to look at what that really means. We do have to have a certain level, but pushing the envelope in these times, I think, is going to be something that we're very careful of. And I'll be open and honest and upfront here in saying that, because that's something that we're going to address in the budget as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next we've got John Henry. Go ahead. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Interesting conversation, but I do want to remind members of the committee that we are governed under an act, the Safe Water Drinking Act. And as staff gives us advice for repairs, emergency repairs, and the things that we need to keep our wastewater and drinking water safe, failure for council to act on the advice of staff under that act, and Mr. Hunt's behind me, puts the liability on council under that act. And I'd just like Mr. Hunt to comment on council's obligations to make sure that the standard is met.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hunt.
Well, that's correct. I mean, one of the important mechanisms that came out of the Walkerton inquiry was ensuring that there was transparency and accountability all the way up to council. So it's an important question to staff, how this impacts the requirements under the Safe Drinking Water Act. Not all improvements do directly impact those, but those improvements which do impact our ability to meet those requirements, they do have to be approved when they're recommended by staff. Otherwise, it does put council on the hook.
All right. Next, we'll go to Councillor Lee. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. And I agree the conversation about reserves will probably happen during the budget. This is more a budgeting conversation. So how do we, I mean, I'm not unhappy that we're under budget by $1 million, but how did we budget to the point where $1 million just became available? I guess like from a budgeting standpoint, like did we miss something or how do we actually get that much?
Go ahead, Mike.
Sure. So yeah, through the chair, I think as I mentioned, we encountered a leak that was leaking into one of our reservoir cells at the Ajax Water Supply Plant. And without investigating, we estimated that it was going to cost, I think it was $2.5 million we allocated towards the repair. And that was based on other repairs that we had seen at other facilities around the region in the past. Once we got in there with our engineers, with the soils investigation that we did, we discovered that it wasn't the same type of issue. And so the repair cost was significantly less. It was phased into 2 phases. We did only get 1 bid for the first phase of construction, but it was a very competitive and good bid. And again, the second phase of construction, we got 2 bids, and the 1 bid was significantly low, a good contractor, and they completed the work expediently and did a good job to shore up the leak. So it was based on our experience with other similar issues that we had, but when we encountered and got to see it visually, it was significantly less than what we had anticipated. So that's why the significant
Okay, that's
savings.
very helpful.
Yep.
My next question is, so we have 3 examples of, I guess, emergency repairs, and obviously to Chair Henry's point, we have to do these. But I also know that I think we're engaging in a forecasting of our assets and like their long-term viability, as well as like a maintenance schedule. Would any of these 3 issues have been captured in a asset management lens? Or these are one of those freak accidents that nobody could have anticipated?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so through the chair, the first one was identified as a concern as a result of the 2018 high lake levels. So it was budgeted for, but I think the cost was significantly underestimated, I guess, once we got into looking at what the potential construction and design cost was going to be. We had to add more scope to the work. The chemical room doors, which is, I think it's Works Committee Report 36 or 37, that is something that is on a schedule, but it was accelerated, just the corrosivity of the chemicals that are in there. It happened faster than we had anticipated, so which was, again, why it was unaccounted for. And the third one was an emergency.
Okay, those answers all my questions. Thank you very much, Chair, for the second go around.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. And just, you know, as we're speaking, Ramesh just showed me the photos of the doors that we replaced, and there's significant damage to the bottom of them. It looks like critters could walk under them. So these types of things are important. Go ahead.
That actually led to another question. Is it possible to provide photos when applicable? I think like a lot of people don't understand, like words on a paper don't paint the same picture as like a corrosive door, for example. Like, I don't know, like the limitations of a reporting, but is it possible to put diagrams when they're applicable in these reports?
Through the chair, absolutely it is. I mean, there's some instances where we're taking pictures of something that I don't think there's an appreciation of what the issue is, but obviously this door, a picture speaks 1,000 words in that case. So yes, that is something that we can do. The only concern I guess we would have is we have to make sure the pictures are accessible. So we would have to make sure that when we put the reports together that those documents are accessible.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, just the other thing I would highly encourage every member of council in general, but especially this committee to do, is when there's an opportunity to tour facilities, please make yourself available. It you learn so much by walking through the facility. The reports really come to life when you understand what that pump chamber is like and what the sump pump in it will look like as well. So to the people that have gone on tours, including Councillor Mulcahy, who's next to speak, I thank them very much for coming. And for those who haven't, please make yourself available. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Thank you. Are we asking questions on the other two reports now?
Yes.
At the same time? Okay, so I do have questions about doors, God help me. So it's $130,000 for chemical doors. Obviously the word door set off a few triggers for me, so I went down the rabbit hole and I asked actually some experts on costs for doors, of chemical doors. Is 130 grand gonna give us a surplus again?
May I?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, like I said, that number initially was, I wouldn't say a shock, but I wanted to make sure because it was a door. I did go there to the site. I took a picture. I don't think it does justice to call it a door. It's like a garage-like door, like, with a hoist through which, we transport chlorine cylinders in and out. And this is one example where I think a picture would have been good to add. It's highly corroded, 50 years old. 50 years is probably more than a life cycle for any door, especially the one that's so exposed out there.
We all corrode after 50 years.
52 in my case.
So you are going to provide us some photos and give us a little bit more detail about what this is. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a trigger. I also want to ask about the ventilation. So 300K, how big is this room and how much CFM is there to pull the air out of the room and how quickly do we have to do it? Like, it seems like a lot again for ventilation. So I'm asking the question and, with a little bit more detail, what are we doing?
Mike, do you want to walk us through that project?
Sure. So, through the chair, the chemical room, I think the issue is that our staff can't access the room without putting on the respirators and the full suits and everything the way it is right now. The cost to maintain that and to do the work while you're in the respirator with all the equipment on and everything else is very challenging to do. It's to the point where our staff they haven't refused to go into the room at this point, but it's getting very challenging to go into the room. So the cost of this work is so that a worker can go in there without the respirator on. So it is a fairly large room. And it does take, I forget what the frequency of the air exchanges are, but anytime there's a chemical being delivered, the alarms are going off right now. It requires our staff to, with the alarms, to go in with the full respirators. It's a lot more than just doing maintenance or work. It's our staff are having trouble just even getting into the room right now.
Okay, so once this is installed, the ventilation, it goes out to atmosphere, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct, yes.
And so, through the chair, sorry, do we filter it as it goes out?
There is certain chemicals that we have scrubbers for that I'll call it purify the air before it's released to the environment. And we do have to make sure that what we're releasing to the environment doesn't have an impact on the neighboring communities and everything as well. So yes, we do have equipment there that purifies the air to remove some of the chemicals before it's exposed to the neighborhood.
And that's included in this $300,000 ventilation system that we're going to be installing, correct?
I will have to look into the details of if the scrubbers need the improvement. I don't believe that they do, but let me look into that and I'll get back to you.
Okay, so one final question. Any reserve that's left over after these three goes, it will go back into the reserve account, right? If there's anything left over after doing these three reports.
Yeah, that's by default for all completed projects. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So will you update us on that at the end?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the fulsome discussion on this. Really appreciate it. We do have a mover and a seconder. I don't see any additional hands. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? For those with their cameras off, any opposed? No, I know, but just making sure. All right. So we are down to other business. Any other business? Go ahead, sir.
I do. I have some other business, Mr. Chair, through you. I do believe clerks have received a motion that I'd like to move at Works.
Yes, we do have it ready to present. We'll just need a 2/3 motion to introduce it without notice first.
Certainly. I'll move the motion to waive the rules to introduce a motion
Okay.
that you have in your possession.
Again, the chair doesn't have it in his possession.
I think if we put it up on the screen, I guess.
Okay.
I can send it to
Someone
you,
want to
but-
second that? Go ahead, Ron. Thanks. And all in favor? Okay, that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, can you, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, do we want to go further? Thank you. Yeah, Tito, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I'll just speak to it briefly because I think it's an interaction between our commissioner at the City of Oshawa and our commissioner here at Works that have been collaborating to try to find a mechanism to facilitate DRPS in their ability to keep the medians and the roadways safe. It's pretty self-explanatory. It requires signage because in law, if you don't have proper signage, the RPS at times or any police service may have a challenge in the courts in dealing with some of the issues that we're incurring in various communities. And I think in this particular case, if you look at the extensive input and body of the motion, it's pretty clear that there's been a lot of work that's been put into this. And I'm hopeful that the committee will support it because it really just gives the community the opportunity to have the signage in place so that DRPS can activate the service required in order to maintain safe pedestrian traffic in this area, in these areas, I would say. Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Oh, I thought it was Councilor Mackay. Oh, okay, fair enough. Go ahead, Councilor Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to second this. I've raised this issue with our work staff on a number of occasions, including recently, as we're seeing a growing dangerous situation that eventually, if we don't take action, is going to lead to injury or potentially even worse. Of course, that would only increase the liability of the region if we don't try and take these actions. This is, I think, a good example of the local municipality and the region working together, if it's approved, where the municipality is going to pick up the full cost on a pilot process to see what impact this could have long range. I can tell you, as the counselor for the area where this is going on, I could have added about 4 more locations on Bloor Street alone where this is going on. Anybody that's traveled and used the highway interchanges along the 401 exiting onto Bloor Street knows that you have to run a gauntlet sometimes of individuals who are walking out right in front of traffic as people are trying to exit the highway, or in the case of Ritson Road, enter the highway. We are looking at a very dangerous and a growing situation. And I would put to you as well that this is not just an indigent population doing this. There are professional panhandlers who are being driven into these sites and are being dropped off for their shift for 2 or 3 hours, and then they switch the panhandler to the next person in the company, I guess. It makes it very difficult for our police to take action, or even our bylaw enforcement officers to take action, if we don't have signage indicating this is not an allowed activity. So I sincerely urge the region to join with the state of Oshawa to try these steps to see if this impacts this negative activity. And if it does, then to maybe look at the potential of expanding this across all of the municipalities in Durham where this is in fact a significant activity. Mr. Chair, I'd ask for a recorded vote at the appropriate time.
Hey, thank you very much. Just before we move to other speakers, just wondering to the mover and seconder on this, would you be open to us doing a friendly amendment that would allow 1 location in every municipality as part of the pilot? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just so everyone can hear you, say that again.
Sure. In addition to the ones that have been outlined, I have no problem with other municipalities activating a pilot in the same manner, so long as the seconder is, who's done a lot of work on this file, is supportive of it.
Okay. Brian, you okay with the friendly?
Yeah, I have no problem with expanding this beyond the 3 locations. I was tempted to move a motion myself to add about 6 more, but I think we need to work with all municipalities that are willing to pay for the signs and take part in the pilot project at whatever locations they indicate.
Yeah, I was just thinking that with the 3 that you guys have outlined, plus the ability for every municipality to do 1, I think this kind of gets us going and to see if it works or not.
Could it be easier considering, the cooperation of the municipalities? Would it be just easier in the case that there, I can sense that there may be 1 or 2 more in other municipalities that we just, approve the pilot and open it to other municipalities, inclusive of this one,
Sure.
to provide any future lists of locations, because these are ones that are, drawn from staff, communications. It's not just something that, we just stand up and I'd like one here and there.
Yeah.
I think I'm just trusting staff to think it through and work through the manuals in terms of, and DRPS in terms of where the appropriate locations are, where the need is.
Okay, so just to summarize what you said,
Yeah.
if that's okay. So basically, have this as a pilot plus some verbiage that says that we could add more across the region from a staff to staff perspective.
So it says that the region of Durham be requested to consider the proposed pilot program as a step towards developing a consistent regional policy so on and so forth. And at the end of that, it says on regional roads. It doesn't really say just in the city of Oshawa, so I think maybe we've captured it, unless I'm mistaken. And probably have to check with clerks.
Yeah, I don't know if that gives us the freedom for all of us to do one. I've got one in mind that is an issue.
Sure.
Because I know that some vulnerable people in my community are being targeted. All right, so while clerks are thinking about that, we'll go to Councillor Lee. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just, I'm unsure where the region falls into this. Like, so for anti-solicitation, I understand this is kind of a road safety play, which is a regional responsibility, but the installation of signage for like anti-solicitation, for example, would that be a regional responsibility, or would that be strictly something that the lower tier would do? And then when we say partner with the lower tier, do we mean that the lower tier would send enforcement and the region's commitment is just kind of signage and this project? Like, I'm unclear as to like where the region's place is in this.
Yeah, just, Tito, do you want to try and answer that? Just because from a staff perspective, it's early, that's all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I think that's a question that we would have to ask through you to the commissioner. If the municipalities were able to do this unilaterally, they would have done it already. So that's why the motion's here. So if we can get an understanding of the situation from our commissioner, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Ramesh.
Thank you. My understanding is DRPS can enforce any unsafe solicitation at any intersections now. This signage is just like, I guess, one additional measure that would tell panhandlers, I guess, you're at a location you shouldn't be. And the enforcement has to be through DRPS. So I would say this motion obviously would have to be shared with the local municipalities if we are trying to add more in their locations, as well as to DRPS, so that they know this is something we are doing, although they can enforce it even without the signage, but at least they'll know the locations that we want them to be aware of.
I appreciate that through you, Mr. Chair. Maybe we can ask, because I see item 2 where it tells us specifically what sites we're activating in the pilot. Maybe we can ask through you to our solicitor what that would mean in order to leave it so that, you know, other municipalities or other sites within the same municipality can be activated. What language would we need in that particular paragraph?
We have some proposed language. Let's see if he can speak directly to that. Can we put it on the screen? So, Jason, does that, before we, just so we don't have to go in camera, can you give us enough to keep us in open session?
Yes.
You're okay with the wording?
I am content with the wording, and I should just add that the behavior that is, the conduct that is targeted in this motion is clearly not legal. It is covered under the Safe Roadways Act or something along those lines, which is a provincial piece of legislation. It is enforceable by the DRPS. That legislation does not require signage, so the signage is certainly a good measure, but I do think local municipalities should know that even if they don't have these signs, they are entitled to ask for enforcement by DRPS if they have any problems. So that the signage should not be a hindrance to them. We are aware of other cities which have used this approach with signage to modify behavior and to support enforcement efforts. And we have examples of the signage that we can use to support this, but it is an important point that if you are a municipality that doesn't happen to have signage, you have a problem on a certain day, please do call either your local bylaw and or the police.
Thank you very
Through
much.
you, Chair.
And then
I think-
Chair-
yeah, I appreciate
Oh,
that.
sorry.
That's not lost on us, that's for sure. I wouldn't purport to stand on the side of a highway or in the middle of a median in a busy intersection on a regional road and expect it to be illegal doing some of the things that are occurring. But I'm just looking at the language and it says one additional location. I would just say and additional locations. And I wouldn't say the remainder because I would just,
Yeah, okay. Can we amend that?
I wouldn't even say other for local I would just say local municipalities after the. And if that suffices, that's an amendment that I can move if you wish.
Sure. Brian, just a second, and we'll go back to you in a second, Councillor Lee. You okay with that amendment? Friendly? Brian?
I can live with that. I would have preferred to suggest that the authority for approving additional locations be passed on to the Commissioner of Works if they can reach agreement with the local municipalities, simply not to black this up in a lot of red tape. If, for example, Town Ajax wants to have a location, they're willing to pay for signage, our commissioner could approve that and not have come back to committee. So I'm just looking at, maybe we need to pass a delegated authority onto the commissioner, to facilitate the expansion of the pilot project at his discretion in agreement with the local municipalities.
And I think this wording kind of gives him that ability without any additional red tape, I think. So, but again,
Yeah,
if you're not, Councillor Nicholson, if you're not okay with that second, we can seek a seconder for the amendment.
No, what I'm indicating is, as long as that's read into the part that's being added, I have no problem with that.
Okay. All right, so, oh, sorry, and now we'll go back to Councillor Lee. Go ahead, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this is a pilot project. So currently, if I'm understanding this correctly, anti-solicitation signage is not allowed on any regional roads. But hypothetically, if a local municipality wanted to put them, they could put them on local roads. This pilot project is simply to cover the regional roads as well. Am I misreading any of that?
That's my understanding as well, but to.
Okay.
Yes, there's a nod beside me.
And then is there a cost to this, or as per what Councillor Nicholson's saying, the costs are actually absorbed by the local municipality? This is just to approve the framework, which doesn't exist right now. Is that also correct?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay, I'm all good then. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, now we'll go to Councillor McCaughey. Go ahead.
Thank you. Supportive of pilot. I guess that's the key word, in my opinion, that we need to pilot this, because I'm a little concerned about unintended consequences of forcing people out of one area. It's like whack-a-mole or flowing water. It will just pop up somewhere else. So I think, a pilot is the right way to go, and I wouldn't go crazy all over Durham Region slapping signs up until we see how it comes to play, because you could end up with more problems than you've asked for. So while I do believe the other municipalities should be aware of what's happening and be able to, sort of keep it in mind for their hotspots in their communities, I would personally, in Whitby, I'll be advocating that we wait and see what happens with Bloor Street before we start investing in putting signs up everywhere. So I'm okay with this. I'll fully support it, but I do believe that, when people are desperate, they will find a way. So we just need to be mindful of that.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, next to the seconder. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one point. So Mr. Hunt and the staff are absolutely correct that under the current Safe Streets Act, the police can enforce illegal activity like this. The problem we have is when the officers arrive, they're hesitant to take any significant action with the lack of signage, and they've communicated that to us. They said without actually being able to point to a sign and say you can't do this, they're hesitant to take any action other than say, look, we think you should move along. 5 minutes later, after the officer has left, the person's back again. And they're in Oshawa, I can tell you, we've had the same people over and over again. And we think that the signage being put up will encourage the police to take more significant action to protect life and limb. I can tell you in my own experience, I've had people walk right in front of my car and stand in front of my car and said, if you don't give me $5, you're not getting by. And that's been repeated to me by many, many constituents, that they're getting very aggressive and they're actually walking into traffic. So we need stronger enforcement, absolutely. But I think this is one more tool we give the police to help them with their enforcement. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. All right, so we have a motion on the floor, on, and we, okay, so in recorded vote. All right, and that was unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, is there any other business? All right, then let's, our next meeting is January the 7th at 9:30. Motion to adjourn? Seconder? So moved by Chair Henry, seconded by Councilor Mayor Pietri. All in favor? Recorded vote? Okay, just checking. Thanks, folks. The meeting's adjourned. Welcome back, Mr. Chair.